Hello friends, well found. Today I'm talking about a fountain pen that responds to the name of Columbus 65. This is the box that contains the set of two pens. Now let's go to examine. It is a fountain pen very interesting. Columbus fountain pen is no longer in production and it soon became one of my favorite. Columbus 65. There are two models, one from the 30 and a slightly more recent one in the years around 60 to 65. Perhaps for this reason the name of this model is 65, such as the 55 that I have already reviewed. It is a resin pen. It is not a pen of precious ebonite or celluloid ones. A resin pen, and if I have to be honest, touching it by taking it in the hand, it almost looks like an inexpensive pen. It has no pretentiousness. It is not a pen that wants to appear, except the cap with a 1000-striped type in gold. We also find the engraving here gold 750. A precious gold, not 585 or 40 carat, but 705, 18 carat. The loading of this pen, as you can see from the windows, is a piston filling type, while the pen that produces the production of these at a bottom charge, even spoon in some specimen, because in any case they are quite discontinuous production, and also there is not much bibliography. There aren't so much information around this hold. The nib, as you can see, is a nib drowned in the body of the pen. It is a ferrite nib. The top of nib is just stick out. However, a really beautiful, flexible, vintage type nib as I like. Combined with the lightness and also the dimensions of the pen, not exaggerated. Later I will compare it to other pens that you know, that so you can realize its real size length. On the body there is a unique rating, Columbus 65, so there are no other features to make it recognized or in any case other ornaments that can embellish the worth. It's still a beautiful pen that, let's say, its main feature, at last as far as I'm concerned, is the writing. Let's go and see it. I told you that I can remember the Parker 51 to the previous model to this one. Recalls it, obviously, is an old black pen with a fair nib, can recall many other models. I brought here, just to show you, an Aurora 88, which is a little bigger, like you can see, in all its proportions. But the cap a little bit to the barrel, also the diameter of the barrel more generous. But above all, we have a quality of the materials on the 88 that is decidedly better than this. The Columbus, which, as I repeat, does not battery, does nothing to disguise its nature. Let's call it cheap or economic pen, if you want to call it so. On the back we find the mechanism that action piston that we can see here coming down in the window, and now it comes back up. These are fountain pens, I said you, that you can find in many markets of second-hand fountain pen or vintage pen or on eBay from some collector. I taken this Columbus 65 from my usual supply of vintage pens, because in any case they must be tried before purchase. In my opinion, it's better to turn to worm is be able to put into the hands and is be able to repair these old fountain pens. So, check them from those you know and from those who can also give you a minimum warranty. This is the Pelikan M200. Without the cap, we can appreciate even better the dimensions. They are practically similar to the Pelikan M200s. Neither more nor less than a pen steel and sized. A pen that moves easily from a very light pen, really very light, with the cap on. Here we see it together with other known features, fountain pens. The Twisby, Diamond and the Lamy Safari or All-Star is the same. In short, the cap is the classic one I told you, 1,000 lines, a gold laminate that breaks with a black, like hundreds of other pens. Okay, now let's put it to the test. Loaded with an ink that I really like, Pelikan Heather Style Tanzanite. I really like black, a deep dark blue dance. I like it because put on the Asam nibs, the right nibs, like the Columbus one, manages to spread out and therefore interact with the fibers of the paper. Now let's go try it on this Pina paper. Handling the pen as in a tapered and continuous manner. So this is an advantage for me from the point of view of calligraphy, because when I start to do a writing section, I have the maximum comfort in continuously adjusting the position of the fingers. And it is also true that someone who perhaps has to take notes using pen for such an immediate and fast writing, maybe it is better to have a references and than to fix the fingers holding. I consider Columbus 65 a calligraphic pen. I put it among those who give the pleasure of the calligraphy, of the stroke, quite like the Aurora 88, but the beautiful Aurora is not fantastic than this Columbus in the writing act. As I told you, Columbus giving me more fun, because with this pen I can do what I want. This vintage Italian fountain pen, with its flexible nib constantly asking you to play, it challenges you to make it play on paper by changing the stroke, putting pressure, drawing curves. It's pure fun. Now I try to tilt the line, now I try to put it in difficulty, putting difficulty writing at the nib. On Pina style paper, how you see the primary stroke is very thin. We could say that is a fine gradation, but I would say almost an extra fine, because in any case it is very thin. The nib is very smooth. I squeeze the camera frame and it takes very little to make it right. Okay, it's a beautiful pen, but now I test it on a paper that instead has a slightly different fiber. I really like this one because halfway between being smooth and nice patination, but also a bit of porosity, a bit of tears that allows you to carve the nibs. I don't like unbraided nibs. Now let's write without tilting the nib. As you can see, everything flows smoothly, and this nib is a marvel and allows you to do whatever you want. We can concentrate on calligraphy without thinking about the point of attachment of the nib to the paper, in order to leave the hand free to improvise the most artistic trajectories and lines. Without thinking about how angular the nib, the degree of the attack on paper. I try some calligraphic style like the corso, the hand care. I use uppercase letters and I use a spurty and acute handwriting. Look. At the points where I pressed the nib more, offering the more incisive and less rounded side, you can see some effect of the ink on the paper, only there. Now I'll try a different paper, a paper produced by Chuck Group. This is an acid paper, a rather dry and porous paper that fits well with very smooth nibs, and when you have an ink in your hands that makes writing fluid. But in this way, the pen tends to run away. It is difficult to govern it. In these cases, a paper that breaks the pen can help. Now, let's use a smaller font as we have written large so far. Bella, beautiful, really good, the Columbus. A very pleasant pen. With these nibs we can play and do whatever comes to mind. Do we want to write creatively? Do we try to write large characters? Do we want to use condensed characters? We manage to make everything we have in mind transformed into a scene and into the way we want to do it. This is the concept of confidence. In music, they wrote adagio, from the Latin ad agium, or at ease, at your convenience. Observe how the nib returns to its resting state as soon as I have finished applying pressure. Everything happens in a homogeneous and fluid way, I dare say harmonic and expressive. You can learn more about this topic in the video tutorial in which I explain the mechanism of the flexible nib. What can I add on the writing unit of this fountain pen? The nib is put to the test of writing in all directions, even those towards the dry side, notoriously difficult for any fountain pen. Let's not forget that we are testing a pen that has at least 60 years on its shoulders, and if the nib behaves so well, there are two possibilities. One, nib wrote little, or the pen has been used well, very well, but I also want to consider a third possibility. However sold it to me, has restored it as a real jewel. This is the reason why I always give you the same advice when it comes to buying antique fountain, vintage fountain pens. Buy them from shopkeeper or collector of proven ability and trust. Never buy blindly. Pens must be tried, especially in the vintage world. There are no two similar models that have the same nib. Once there was no industrialization and economy of scale like today, and the nibs were made by hand and were real handcrafted works. This reasoning is even more valid when we talk about special nibs like the flexible ones, like the Columbus 65 in question. So, what are you waiting for? If you are passionate about calligraphy and writing, this is the pen for you, light and fast, but with a really well-calibrated flexible nib capable of giving you many gratifications. I wait for you at the next video. Ciao, da Marco Chiari. And now, if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel, because your click is the only way I can understand the liking of foreign friends and enthusiasts. Unfortunately, it takes me twice as long to write reviews in English. I know that our YouTube subtitles automatically generated, but many friends of mine say me that only serve to give an idea of what I'm talking about and not very understandable. So, if you find the reviews and tests in English useful, I ask you to subscribe to the channel. If I see the number of subscribers outside Italy grow, I will understand that it is right to continue giving my time to reviews in English too. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but I will use my little time only for those in Italian. I hope that you can understand me. Sincerely, Marco Chiari. Thank you all. Ciao!